Our headlines this hour: racial crimes spike in the UK following the Paris attacks, as British media lead with anti-Muslim headlines. And Sweden's largest nationalist party prepares a chilly welcome for refugees who continue to flow to Europe. Also ahead this hour, President Obama orders an inquiry into claims the Pentagon is sugarcoating intelligence reports on the fight against Islamic State. Just gone 11 a.m. this Tuesday morning here in the Russian capital. Welcome to your RT International. Good to have your company. My name's Ewan O'Neill. We start with breaking news just coming into us this hour. A military jet has reportedly crashed in Syria near the Turkish border. That is according to a Turkish TV channel. It is unclear, however, which country the plane belongs to. The fate of the crew are unclear as well. As I say, that news is just coming into us. We will, of course, bring you more on this as and when we get it. Just to reiterate, a military jet has crashed in Syria near the Turkish border. We'll have more on that as soon as it comes into us. A controversial headline in a British tabloid has declared 1 in 5 British Muslims sympathise with jihadists. That's the conclusion the Sun newspaper reached after conducting an exclusive poll. But a problem lies with the survey's main question. The Daily wanted to know who felt sympathy towards young Muslims leaving the UK to join fighters in Syria without specifying on which side they would be fighting. Well, despite the flaw, other tabloids jumped on the news. The Daily Mail presented the poll as if respondents sympathise totally with those joining Islamic State. Another newspaper said that 1 in 4 support young Muslims fighting in Syria. While media right across the board, attention there and the radicalisation of young British Muslims has become more prominent since the Paris attacks earlier this month. Well, the Muslim community in Britain has seen a spike in racial crimes by over 300%. In the 10 days following the carnage in the French capital, over 100 attacks took place against Muslims, mostly targeting young women. Arzu Morali, a research director from the Islamic Human Rights Commission, says the image the media creates of Muslims is a distorted one.
Essentially, we live in an atmosphere where the main institutions are either deliberately or, accidentally by cause of culture and negligence, reproducing stereotypes about marginalized communities, in this case Muslims. And then when something like Paris happens, that just simply triggers people who've already had that kind of feeling inculcated in them subtly. The majority of people are getting their information about Muslims through the media and through what politicians say and how that is also reported in the media. The actual discourse about anything, let alone Muslims, is very narrow. We've seen headlines saying 1 in 5 Muslims supports Daesh or so-called ISIS. That's actually not the case. The headline is very misleading. But in that scenario, most people are being fed that type of information, and that's only going to provoke them.
Meanwhile, 3 leading British cinema chains have refused to show an advertisement by the Church of England. They say they're concerned it could offend the feelings of non-Christians. A minute-long clip shows people of different backgrounds and professions saying the Lord's Prayer. The video was due to be shown during the Christmas holidays before the latest Star Wars movie. RT's Isa Ali takes up the story for us.
May the Force be with you. That's the iconic line from the famous Star Wars movies. But to express such a sentiment nowadays could be seen as offensive. That's according to the Digital Cinema Media Group, the DCM, who are responsible for the advertising in the major cinemas in the UK. DCM has declined to show an advert which has been produced by the Church of England and was intended to be played out before the airing of the new Star Wars movie. However, DCM said that adverts like the Lord's Prayer could cause offence to those of different faiths. But how true is that?
I mean, why be offended? It's just let it go. Be free, be happy.
I think the church should be allowed to play the prayer, and I don't think anyone should be offended. It's not like they're telling you to be a Christian or die. It's not extreme. It's a prayer, and it's Christmas time anyway, so there's a lot of that going around, so I don't see why it's an issue.
They're there to make money. They're there to promote entertainment. They're not there to make political decisions, are they? So they're there for commercial reasons, to keep them commercial.
I think the cinema's on the right side there. Like they should decide what goes on.
Recently, David Cameron reaffirmed that Britain was a Christian country, and around 60% of the country self-identify as Christians. So why is something as innocuous as prayer proving to be so controversial?
What we've actually seen, I think, across the country is an outpouring of confusion and outrage as to why the Lord's Prayer should be banned in an advert from cinemas, particularly in the run-up to Christmas, when there will be many adverts that have a Christian theme.
The Church of England has branded the decision silly and points out that both the Cinema Advertising Authority and the British Board of Film Classification have approved the clip. It seems political correctness or maybe anti-religion attitudes are being taken to another level in the UK. Following a petition which garnered only a small number of signatures, a cinema in Scotland recently cancelled a screening of The Message, a classic bio about the Prophet Muhammad, while the coffee chain Starbucks was accused of being anti-Christmas after releasing plain red cups, which make no reference to Christmas at all. Whatever the reasons, in an increasingly secular society like Britain's, major companies are shying away from expressing anything overtly religious. Isa Ali, RT in London.
Let's now return to our breaking news story this hour. A video from Turkish TV, which I believe we're about to show right now, shows a military jet crashing in Syria near the Turkish border. Turkish TV reports that the jet was actually shot down by Turkish warplanes after violating airspace. That's new information just coming in. However, it's unclear which country that downed plane belongs to, if it is confirmed that it was indeed downed. According to media, the pilots managed to eject before the crash. The reporter on the scene also said that the aircraft had, quote, turned into a fireball. Again, that's a video from Turkish TV reportedly showing a military jet crashing in Syria near the Turkish border. That is video. Turkish TV reports that the jet was actually shot down by Turkish warplanes. We are just waiting for confirmation on that. This is information coming into us. It's believed to have happened within the past hour. Now, as migrants continue to flow into Europe, a nationalist party in Sweden has prepared a far from warm welcome. The video was posted on the Sweden Democrats Facebook page. It's presented as a warning for future migrants of the harsh realities that they may face on arrival. Well, the party has seen a dramatic rise in popularity during Europe's refugee crisis and is currently the most favoured party in Sweden, according to recent polls. Well, the flow of migrants shows no signs of decreasing despite falling temperatures and the onset of winter. More than 200,000 arrived in October. The UN Refugee Agency says the figure is, quote, beyond anything that could have been expected even a few months ago. The problem of housing is looming large, with some newcomers even having to sleep in the streets. In the city of Malmö, dozens of refugees had to spend 2 nights camping outside a hotel in freezing temperatures. The country's migration agency failed to arrange their accommodation. Germany is also having refugee housing problems. Authorities have had to convert the former Stasi secret police headquarters in Berlin into a shelter. Nearly 500 people are currently staying there. Many in the country are becoming increasingly frustrated by the refugee crisis.
There are too many unemployed people here in Germany. There are Germans who are homeless, and they say they do not have any housing for them for winter, but they do for refugees.
They are getting help. I do not mind, but it would be nicer if the people here in Germany would also get help. I am homeless. It is difficult for me too, and I'm not getting any help.
Well, Europe is trying to impose stricter rules on the newcomers, making a priority to those fleeing the violence in Syria or people facing a direct threat to their life. And that's triggered all kinds of tactics to get the most preferential treatment. Some buy fake Syrian passports to show they've fled the war there. Social networks like Facebook and Twitter offer the document for under $1,000. Others lie about how old they are when interviewed by border police to get into a younger age category. Another way is used by Afghans to strengthen asylum cases in Europe, some of them by fake Taliban death threats. That started after Germany shut the door for economic migrants from Afghanistan. Well, RT approached several migrant agencies within the EU for comment, but only Sweden replied, saying, quote, cases are assessed on an individual basis and one piece of paper does not determine a decision. Helge Luras from the Centre for International and Strategic Analysis says EU authorities can't check all the documents properly, and this poses a danger for Europe.
Obviously, when the authorities have no real proper control on who is entering Europe, and when they're entering in the amounts we see currently, there is hardly any guarantee that there aren't people within those flows that might have bad intentions, that's for sure. The reality is that quite a lot of those that actually are granted asylum are done so on false premises.
Still ahead here on RT International, an apparent pro-white surge in American universities. So-called white unions have appeared online, claiming they want to make white voices heard. We have the public's response to the initiative in a few minutes.